be right with you.
Are you trying to, yeah, Zoom?
Yeah, to show it on the big screen. It just shows mine. Is that fine just to show mine, or is it, should we have the room?
Oh, yeah.
Uh, So it's, I think what happened is it's not scheduled for the room. Yeah,
that's
it wasn't, the audio
started.
wasn't working.
But so she's running this as switch to that.
Okay, but it's not showing the big screen up there. You know, it's
Zoom,
just showing
yeah.
mine.
I don't know where she's running, but Zoom is. Actually.
Okay, yep, good to go.
Okay, no, I'm just saying for the room.
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay,
1 second.
think about it. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you very much.
No.
How fast can Yuki run?
I am one of
Getting a
those.
bigger issue.
This here for help. You go right from that.
So it's not showing, oh, it is showing this big room for this one too.
I know.
Wow.
We don't at our house. We do not.
Yeah, we do our best to have a delineation, but I think as a country.
As a society, yeah, we are doing that.
And can we make Chris Miller a co-host too? Please, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah, do we have people in the waiting room to let in?
Yes.
We've got folks texting me that they're out there. Okay.
Chris, so if you can,
Panicky.
if you can,
The wrong meeting?
then that's fine.
I'm not seeing that I have that yet. There we go. Now I've got it.
Yeah. So if you can let those folks in.
I don't think so.
Anytime. So
I didn't know either, so I parked.
I feel bad.
he's also.
Like, well, I just printed it for 20 pages.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Having been in the paper industry.
Ah.
And I don't feel bad about that. No, my husband thinks that
Thank you for letting-
Okay, no. Thank you very much. I don't need that one too. Thank you. I think everybody's in now, right?
Print anything more.
Yeah, thanks for letting me in.
Sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical issue for a little bit of time period. Thanks for our patience with it.
No, not a problem. I thought it was me. You know how you do that and you're like, am I in the wrong Zoom meeting? I put it on the, I actually looked,
Yeah.
today the 21st or is today the 20th? Am I a day?
Yeah. Yep, I'm with you.
Zoom asked,
we just,
Zoom asked if I was, it said it had to update my program and I couldn't join the meeting until it did. And then I had to install the updates. So it was like, I thought it was me.
yeah, Marnie's joining. I think that's the only one left in the room, so I think we could start the meeting, no?
Okay. All right, I will start it. I think we have a quorum. I can't hear you, Chris. Chris, you're
You're on
muted.
mute.
Well, when we have the quorum, Chris will tell us.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm counting, and my husband would like to keep me muted, so I'll come out of that for now. Let's see.
Damn husbands.
Yes, Senator, I believe you do have a quorum, and Marnie is coming in as well right now.
Yeah, that would make it. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, we will start the meeting. It is 2:06 on Thursday, November 21st, to the Minnesota MRPC meeting. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being on here. Maybe we'll still go around and introduce ourselves, just so everybody again knows who we're here. And let's start with you live and in person in the room.
Ann Lewis, commission member at large. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Huguenin. I represent the Minnesota Department of Agriculture.
And I'm Diane Henry Wagenstein, not a member, just staff support. I'm with the LCC Fiscal Services Office. So.
Thanks, Diane. John Atkinson,
I am John Amfinson, the Metro Region Commissioner.
Kate Carlson,
Hi folks, Kate Carlson, Visit Winona and Hastings to Iowa Border Commissioner.
Sally. Oh, you're muted still, Sally.
How about now?
Yep, good.
Good.
Bonjour, Sally Finday. I'm the commissioner for the Mississippi to Grand Rapids.
Tim,
Hi, I'm Tim Wilcox. I am the new, I am back. I'm the new scenic byway coordinator for MnDOT. Take over for Holly.
Oh, welcome back.
oh, thanks, Tim.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Been a couple years.
Good. We're a lot of fun still. Lisa,
Good afternoon, Lisa Havelka. I am representing tourism on the MRPC. I am with Explore Minnesota and I'm in southern Minnesota. So I kind of also cover off on that Winona to the Iowa border.
thank you. Megan,
I am Megan Volke with the LCC staff support as well, along with Diane.
thank you. David Kelleher,
Hello, all. David Kelleher, Minnesota Historical Society appointee. I'm going to move from the mobile office up to the real office in a minute.
okay, good.
I'm
Hopefully
not
they
moving. I'm not driving. I'm not moving.
Peter,
Peter McDonough, Senior Landscape Architect, Program Manager for the Great River Road at MnDOT.
thank you. Marnie,
Good afternoon, Marnie Karnowski with MnDOT.
Carol Zoff, my BFF.
Thank you. Carol Zoff, I'm a Principal Landscape Architect with the Office of Environmental Stewardship in MnDOT.
Thank you. Michelle,
Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Urich. I'm the Executive Director of the Legislative Coordinating Commission.
thank you. And the woman who keeps this whole thing together, Chris.
Hello. Yes, Chris Miller. I work for you all as your director. Good to be with you today.
Thank you. And I am Senator Karen Housley, the chair. We have first up on the agenda to approve today's agenda and the minutes from our August meeting. Oh, wait, did you want to, Chris, fill in for roll call for the record?
I think we probably just did that sufficiently, Diane,
Okay.
if you're good with that. Thank you.
Oh, that's great. All right, so does anybody want to make a motion? There is a quorum present, and the minutes are on page 2 and 3 of our packet.
Motion by Sally.
I'll second, John.
All right, all those in favor of approving today's agenda and the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion passes. On to commission bids, business, we have the budget report. It's the packet, and then Chris, this is yours, right? Oh, or Anne?
Right, it's on.
I would just point out that it's on page 4 of your packets, and everything is there, and the notes are really the important part as far as I'm concerned. They sort of sum up what our situation is. I would say that the cryptic remark at the bottom of the page, which says Minnesota Great River maps are currently out of stock, should also read and need to be reprinted. And that would be my one addendum to this report. Chris no doubt has some more intricate detail. Do you want to do that, Chris, or is it self-evident
Sure.
from there?
And we can talk about this more a little bit later too under commission needs and priorities, but this is your budget currently for fiscal year 25, which, as Anne called to attention in the notes section, it includes your base allocation for the current year plus carryover funds that were not spent in the prior year, which was the first year of the biennium. Your priority starting this fiscal year really was that MRPC National Annual Meeting, which you all did such a great job of hosting. And so now we can see where the cost came in on that. You do have some funding remaining in that line item because we did not have quite as many people attending as we thought we might. We kind of went big in terms of planning to make sure that was all covered. So you will have some funds remaining in that line item, also likely in quarterly meetings because we're going virtual again. And then as Anne mentioned, there are needs that you have on the table, including printed maps, but there might be some other things coming up as well. And so when we get to needs and priorities, that might be a time to discuss whether you'd like to call an executive committee meeting or have some ad hoc committee discussion on things coming up later in the agenda. But your budget does currently give you some flexibility for some of those things that have come up. And I take questions if you have them as well.
Anybody have any questions on the budget? No.
Chris, what are we looking at a cost for reprinting that, like I said, a minimum amount of maps?
It depends. As a former boss of mine used to say, the last time you printed this particular map, it was a run of 80,000, and that came in at just over $24,000 for printing, storage, shipping, etc. Past runs were down as low as $5,700. That was the previous map. That was not this particular map. So we really can't compare apples to apples on that. But I can tell you that there would be, different levels you could look at in terms of quantity, paper style, all that good stuff. So it's a big range depending on what you choose to do. I will also say that there are different ways to handle the quantity. You can do a shipment one time and not keep a lot in reserve. This most recent one that you did, it was a large run based on special funding and hit at the time of COVID. And then we had a storage situation and contract for a long time because of all the changes that took place. That's a long answer, John, I'm sorry. But the bottom line is with what's currently available in the budget, it's likely the commission, if you choose, could do a reprint of some kind. But there are also potentially other needs coming up, and you might not be able to do everything.
Okay, thanks.
You got it.
I just have one question. This is Sally. What is the fiscal year?
Fiscal year starts July 1st and ends June 30th. So we're kind of coming right up on the middle of it pretty soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Chris, if I could just point out, also you brilliantly went ahead when we did have money in the budget and updated our map. Production wise, we would just be incurring costs of printing, which really saves us in a big way. So if anybody's wondering about that, it is we're in a good position to do that printing this year because of that early effort or that advance effort.
Storage.
Thanks, Anne. I believe so.
Yeah.
We'll want to look again because things do continue to change, but right, the 13th Interpretive Center was added in the design and our partners at Transportation reviewed. I know Tim or Carol, Peter, we looked at that map and had the changes made that we could at the time. So yeah, we think it's pretty close to ready to go, but we would take one more look, of course.
Yes.
All right, any other questions on the budget? Okay, moving on, in other commission business, the MRPC classification and transportation funding statute. Michelle or Diane?
I think Michelle's interested in talking about this. Michelle?
Yes, hi, Chair Housley and members of MRPC. It's my understanding that the commission is interested in legislation to potentially clarify the use of trunk highway funds. This upcoming year, the LCC does not have a specific housekeeping bill plan to bring forward, but that's something that we could consider in the future. Also, there's some questions and communication. We just want to make sure we understand why the prohibition on the use and whether or not there would be any opposition to this.
Any questions for Michelle?
Michelle, you said, would there be any opposition? You mean in terms of a housekeeping bill?
There won't be a
Yeah,
housekeeping.
I just would want to understand if this would be a non-controversial, if it would be just a technical clarification, or what the potential implications of it are. It's always, whenever the LCC comes forward with a housekeeping bill, usually it's not controversial at all. And so just want some time to understand what the potential implications and whether or not there would be any concerns with this change being made.
Yeah, and others can speak to this better than I can. Maybe Marnie can speak to it. My understanding there, it could have some controversy to it in terms the whoever wanted this provision that appears to have said we can't use certain aspects of the funding, it would probably want to keep that in there. Or my guess, Marnie, that's your turf, so I'm gonna let you talk about it.
Yeah, well, I believe the original author has retired, but yeah, it could be, we haven't pursued it with our government affairs because we were waiting to see what would happen with the commission, but certainly it wouldn't be something we would pursue this coming session. We'd need some time for internal conversation.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any
So
other?
this is Chris, Senator. So in the past, at times, commission requests, changes, et cetera, have been in those LCC housekeeping bills. So the fact that there won't be one this session is, something now that needs to be considered as you all would decide how you do or don't want to go forward. Would it be waiting for a housekeeping bill in a future year? Would it be something else sooner? But now that you have that information, you can move forward considering that, as Marnie just mentioned. So that might be some additional conversations involving some of you moving forward.
Yeah, Chris, if I might, and Marnie, I mean, I guess my question would be is, so what is the impact, if we have to live with it this year, what is the impact for this year?
So there's a couple of things. We did find some did receive some funding that we can use internally, was distributed to those of us in OES that are involved with the commission and work on the Great River Road. So we're okay for this fiscal year. Going forward after that, I'll have to make another request. But there's another topic on the agenda, the Plan Your Trip, the Great River Road application that needs some attention. So that this is part of that picture of needing some help with doing some updates to that. But we're okay for this this fiscal year.
Thanks.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any more questions? All right, moving to Chris Miller, the commission needs and priorities. You have some info?
Right, just coming back to you all with this. This is something that you were discussing a year ago, maybe a little plus, prior to making the decision to host the MRPC annual meeting. So kind of in terms of needs and priorities, that annual meeting and Drive the Great River Road Month took over the needs and priorities list for that period of time. So now we're past that, and it would have been time to bring you back to that list. But there are things that might be coming to you instead, like the map printing needs, like the Plan Your Trip that Marnie just mentioned. So those things will be coming up later in the agenda. And it might be that you decide to refer things to the executive committee or create some ad hoc committees to discuss some of these things further. So I can't tell you, how you would choose to do that. But I think there are some needs that will be on the table that'll need some further discussion outside of a quarterly meeting.
So do you think after we do today's meeting, then we can set aside another time to then look at all of our priorities once we digest all of this today?
I think so. And after you hear some more of the upcoming agenda items, it might help focus whether you'd want an executive committee meeting. Is there a different group of folks you'd like to pull together to talk about some of the specific issues more before you do executive committee? So my initial thought was executive committee, but knowing that there might be some detail pieces with some of these projects we'll be talking about, you might want some other conversations first.
All right. So we'll leave that one hanging out there for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, on to page 5 of the packet, we have the proposed meeting dates for 2025. Does anybody have any conflicts with those dates? I mean, we might, but if there's a bunch of us that decided they're having their MRPC family reunion on August 14th, we're going to have to change. All right. I think those dates are good. So we don't have to make a motion to confirm those or anything, Chris? No,
I don't believe so. We can get that out to you to confirm after we work with LCC on the formats and such. And you'll probably be back to the system of having more of an in-person presence at the Capitol or Senate building once those meeting rooms are finished with their technology upgrades. I'll just draw your attention to the first meeting, which would be a Friday instead of a Thursday, and that's because it would be during the session. And we also know that those meetings during the session can be a little tough sometimes, depending on things happening. So that's why it's on a Friday and potentially subject to change depending on what's happening. Diane, would that be fair?
Yes, correct. Typically House and Senate committees don't meet on Fridays. They usually keep that free. That's why we tentatively scheduled in that day, but Chris is correct. I mean, if there happened to be a floor session, I don't think at that day, it's pretty early on the session, but if a floor session was called, we'd have to look at adjustments. Yeah.
Good. That is good. And I think we'll probably have Zoom option for that date too, because a lot of our people are gone. All right. So those are the dates. Get that in your calendar. Now on to the fabulous event, our annual meeting in Winona. Loved it. Are there any, I suppose, ideas, suggestions, thoughts, critiques of any of the attendees or any questions about how it all went? Chris, I want to thank you personally. With all you had going on, what you did for us and pulling all that together, it was so quick, so fast, and you did it all and pulled it off seamlessly. So thank you so much. It was a great, great event. Loved it. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. You all, everyone jumped on board and everyone brought it. I mean, you all did fantastic. So thanks to the full commission.
Additionally, I would also call out Kate, who worked miracles in every department, including the donut department. So thank you to Kate and to all her contacts in Winona.
Yeah.
Pass along to them one more time, Kate, how great they made it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It was so lovely to have everybody here and share Winona. All of my partners were really excited to welcome you, and both of our interpretive centers said how much they enjoyed having, you know, the greater state represented here in Winona. So it was wonderful.
Yeah, it was a great event. Do you think, do we need to do any sort of side committee or anything to really download the detail? Honestly, I thought everything was perfect. I can't even think of anything to say that we would have to have a side meeting to say, let's fix a few things for whenever we have it again. It was, I don't know if anybody else has any, but you're all shaking your head thinking the same thing.
More time.
Yeah.
More
Yeah,
than
you know,
time. That's the only thing.
it's the first meeting I've seen where everything went on schedule and stayed on schedule. It was just perfect. There was, I didn't even know that was possible. So
right. Yeah, it was.
I was particularly happy with the panels. There was so much great information, and each speaker was 10, 15 minutes tops. And it was a real highlight of this meeting. And I'm not supposed to compare, but I'm going to compare it to last year's. And I would say that there was a lot more individual speakers. And I found that this format worked better. I felt more information was communicated, and I felt that the quality of the information was better. There wasn't any slow spots. I felt it was excellent. An excellent format and a great section, group of sessions too.
Mm-hmm. And amazing excursions if the rain could have just held off. But it was,
The only improvement is that Peter wishes that Winona had better taxi service.
Yes.
Same. It's my daily kind of flagship advocacy piece is that yes, transportation is a hindrance, unfortunately, but I'm really bugging our city about it. So we'll keep going.
David helped me out. Thank you, David.
I would just, Senator, offer that there was some feedback in the most recent National MRPC newsletter. There was a link in the meeting email that came out to you all. We can put it in your follow-up too. And it mentions some of their evaluation information. And one of the things mentioned was the appreciation for the time to network and discuss with people from the other states, that there was informal time at the opening reception. There was also some time like at the lunch on the main day of the meeting, that it wasn't fully programmed with speakers during that time, and something to the effect that 25%, or don't quote me, particularly on that, but around that number of attendees were new. And so those new attendees appreciated the time to meet others, discuss with others. And that's something I remember talking with John about way at the starting point of this planning process, that if there'd be a way to build in some time so that people can have that, meeting each other, sharing best practices, building relationships, all of that stuff. So I think you all did a great job with that too.
And I would add just one other thing, when we pushed to say, we were approached by the national office to do this on a short timeline, and to hit it out of the park like we did in kind of a rush job made it even more amazing. So hats off to everybody who worked on it.
yeah, thank you so much. Seeing no more questions or comments on that. Thanks for your thumbs up, Peter. We'll go to the committee updates for the National Great River Road. We'll go to communications and marketing first. Megan? Wait.
Kate might have that too, Senator.
Yeah, I don't think Megan's on, but I
was like,
give
oh, good, thanks,
a little update. Yeah, so we actually just had our meeting yesterday, so it's all fresh and my notes are on the same page as today, so easy breezy. We talked a lot about our interest as a committee of kind of spearheading more content from our individual states and giving that directly to the national office, rather than having them have to do all of that side work just themselves. So again, both Meg and I, being in the tourism space, said we do that for our communities on a daily basis. So we're happy to help with that. So we'll follow up with Lisa and see, again, kind of statewide, more of those pieces, just getting them beautiful photos and timely event info, all of that great stuff. Suzanne said she's always eager to hear directly from each individual state and share that out on their platforms. So that's great. We talked a lot about the National Scenic Byway Grant that the national office is applying for, and a lot of those funds are planning to be used for the Great River Road app. So we talked about it actually at the meeting here in Winona about, the previous app and how it's just technology is so much more different compared to when that was first launched. So this is going to have much more of that navigation piece, because as people are traveling the Great River Road, as much as we want the signage to be just, easily, perfectly followed, it's 10 states. That's hard to manage a little bit more than we want to. So to provide that navigation piece, especially in communities that maybe have not as great cell phone signal, but can rely on an app to show them, okay, this is the correct way. I'm still following the Great River Road. And then they're going to be working on like push notifications for traffic changes within that app. So if there's anything kind of coming down the pike as you're traveling, you'll get that heads up. And then marketing kind of companion pieces as well, like a website and things like that. So that's the kind of plan going forward for that, and definitely marketing heavily to the United States as well as the Canada market. We talked a little bit about the 250th United States birthday coming up in 2026, and how Wisconsin specifically is kind of planning on a campaign kind of around the All-American Road and connecting that kind of a piece. And so we talked about maybe, again, nationally, if there's some sort of a specific campaign we want to all together kind of champion. So we'll still work in progress. We've got time. And then the folks from Missouri brought up that the FIFA World Cup is coming to the United States. So all the plans that they have, and really championing the Great River Road in their promotions, recognizing that a lot of the teams have very spread out games. They have a lot of free time, as well as the international folks who are coming over. And what I thought was really interesting is one of the gentlemen from Missouri said, you don't go to Egypt and not see the Nile. So that's kind of what they're thinking, right? Like, you come to the United States and you're not gonna not see the Mississippi River. So they're doing some good planning around that too. So lots of fun things looking forward. And again, really kind of touching base with Suzanne and making sure that we can get as much great content to them as possible.
So is that 2026? Kate, 2026
For
also?
FIFA, I didn't write down the year. I'm not positive. I'm not a soccer person. Okay, David's saying yes, so.
Okay, so I was just looking up too, yeah.
So who's hosting it? Where is it at?
It's all over North America and Canada, United States, and Mexico. And I believe some of the finals are going to be in the New Jersey, New York area.
Ways away from us.
And the dates are June 11th through July 19th.
2026.
2026. Okay.
And the quarterly full report is on the National MRPC website as well. She does such a great job with those reports on social reach and all that jazz.
Okay, any more questions for Kate? Okay, well, we will move on then. John, are you going to do culture and heritage?
Well, there was a Culture and Heritage Committee meeting yesterday, but I was flying back from New Orleans through Atlanta to Minneapolis and missed it. So
Minnesota was well represented at the meeting.
were they? So what happened? I just missed more of them.
David, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I can dive in. Ann was there and Chris was there. So you guys please jump in and let me know what I forgot. The committee talked about interpretive centers and specifically on the ones that are not answering any inquiries from the national office or the state commissions. And that's sort of been an ongoing issue of just getting their attention and how we get their attention. At the national meeting, there was discussion about having someone call, have an intern or someone, or hire someone to call. But I think the better approach would be to have the state commissions take the responsibility because they're closer to those interpretive centers. They know them, they know who the people are, and we'll keep working on that. We also talked about America's 250th anniversary in 2026. And I can talk a little bit more about this as needed or time allows, but my assignment was to talk to the American Association for State and Local History, which is doing a lot of work on this and has created a handbook and a program guide. There's also a national commission that is coordinating a lot of the federal agencies, National Archives, National Park Service, NEH, NEA, et cetera. So I did talk to someone from the American Association for State and Local History who's in town for a meeting this week and got the name of a person to make aware of the interest of the Mississippi River Parkway Commission and participating somehow. And the All American Road is a great hook for that. So continuing education on what the MRPC is and does for sort of that national audience. So Suzanne is very interested in tracking this, and we'll keep in touch as this all moves forward. Minnesota has each state has a commission or committee or something, and each state has done it a little bit differently. And in Minnesota, there's a governor's committee on America 250, and that group has met and actually has a meeting tomorrow. So it's getting started, and not surprisingly, the states that were the 13 original colonies are gung ho and preserving and celebrating their battle sites. We don't really have any, but I think the angle that we're taking is it's not what happened 250 years ago, but what has happened over 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence, and what are some of those themes that can resonate with Americans in Minnesota. So that's what we did. What I miss, Ann and Chris.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Ann.
No, that's what I recall too.
One more thing, there was also discussion about holding a meeting or series of meetings for interpretive centers in terms of this outreach and trying to better connect. Discussion of offering something different times of day with the goal of getting all to participate, maybe recording it as well, especially when, we won't say if, we'll say when, the National MRPC is awarded this grant for a new website and app to be developed, that ICs would be a part of that, and they would do some outreach around that, or maybe around the 250, as David mentioned, that America 250. But there was also talk of, yes, state commissions kind of stepping up outreach to interpretive centers, and then potentially the National MRPC hosting online events to try to pull people together. Thanks.
One other.
Oh, no. Go ahead,
Go ahead,
Dave.
Ann. Go ahead, Ann.
Well, Chris is jogging my memory. I think we asked for a proposal from from Suzanne and her folks at Pilch and Barnett for how we might promote this and incent attendance around raffles, whatever, trying to build a little bit more excitement for ICs to attend groupings of Zoom calls. And also we talked about the timing of it. So they are to, I think at the next meeting, have a proposal of some sort.
David?
One other aspect of American 250 is what's the legacy of this? And if you think back to the bicentennial, and some of us were around and paying attention during the bicentennial, there were a lot of projects that really got started. There were a lot of county and local historical societies that were formed in that era. There were a lot of historic structures that were preserved for future generations. So what's the legacy that we're leaving for the next generation as a result of this 250th anniversary? So something to think about as we think about activities. There will be lots of sort of parades and fireworks types of things, and those are awesome, and I can't wait for those. But a longer term legacy, something we leave to a future generation, is awesome.
Good. Anything else? Okay. Now we've got Marnie with the Environment, Recreation, and Agriculture. Hello again, Marnie.
Hello, Senator. So that meeting was also yesterday. I don't know why they scheduled all of them on one day, but they did. And I was unable to make it. And I was thinking, oh, I wonder if John or Ann did, but John was in the air. Luckily, he made it back in one piece. I'm happy about that. I don't know, did anybody else?
They canceled it.
Canceled, Marnie.
They canceled it.
They canceled
Okay,
it.
okay, well, I didn't hear that they canceled it, but
yeah, they
okay.
canceled it. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
so
you
nothing
didn't
to
miss
report
anything.
then.
You didn't miss anything.
That's great. That's great. You're making the meeting a lot shorter too.
Okay.
And Peter, transportation.
Hello all, thank you, Senator. And transportation, we met. So the third quarter meeting happened at the Winona Conference, 10 State Conference. And the two main items of business were carried on from that meeting to our last meeting, which was the fourth quarter meeting on the 15th of November. Francis Shelfote, who's the bike coordinator for Wisconsin DOT, is the chair, and he was at both of those meetings. He's a co-chair, but he has acted primarily as the main chair. And the two items of business are the third for how it applies 10 statewide is to what is the signage and how is the signage being handled for all of the Great River Road interpretive centers, which there's between 90 and 100 of them right now. And so for Minnesota, we have 13. And this was updated in 2015, I believe. Carol can straighten me out on that. But, and so it mainly, what Francis seems to be doing, and in conversations I had with him afterwards, he's trying to get the other states, which he feels are further behind in their signage for that, and I mean signage on the road, how to get to an interpretive center, that it's incomplete in a lot of these other southern states, but that it's fairly, he considers Minnesota the high bar in terms of its signage and the mapping of the interpretive centers. There is some work for us to do, but not a great deal. And then the second item of business is the purchase by the 10 state organization of the logo and the rights to the trademark of the Mississippi River Trail. And Minnesota has already got that in place. So primarily that's in outside of Minnesota type of activity that needs to happen. The logo or the trademark rather, expires on the 24th of March in 2025. And Francis has lined up the attorneys to get on that work and transfer it over to the 10 state organization. And that will happen, sometime after our first quarter meeting in 2025, sometime between the first and the second quarter meetings. And I'm hoping, and he's hoping, and it seems like it's a clear sailing. He thinks that legal fee is going to be somewhere around $5,000 for the whole organization. And then the eight other states that don't have access to the MRT will then have that. So, and then as you heard, the ERA was canceled. But in regards to transportation, those are the two major items of business. We really did not discuss anything else at either the third quarter meeting or the fourth quarter meeting a week ago. Any questions, comments?
No, I guess not. Thank you, Peter. It was awesome.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, back to Marnie. What we talked about early with the plan your trip and digital travel guides. Go ahead, Marnie.
Thank you. Yeah, so at the annual meeting, a small group of us were looking at it, and then we were sharing it with other states, our wonderful tour of the Plan Your Trip Great River Road in Minnesota. And then shortly after that, I was approached by our GIS specialist in our office and his supervisor about the needs for that application, and it concerned me enough to want to bring it to this group, and it might be just more of sharing what we know about the needs are, and maybe having whatever is decided a smaller group discuss it. But And I apologize, I'm working off of my laptop, just one little screen here today. So, but so the Great River Road, it needs to be rebuilded. Apparently the web app builder and the classic story maps are no longer going to be supported by GIS right now. This is not my kind of lingo. I'll just share that. I'm not a GIS person, but it needs to be rebuilt by December of 2025. So that's one part of the issue, and just rebuilding the application is going to take quite a few hours. It's not an easy task to do. It looks like time estimate from our GIS person is maybe 30 to 40 hours with just kind of a basic.
Marty, you're
rebuild.
kind of going a little
And
digital, I think.
Carol,
Is anybody
I
else?
know.
hearing that?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
hearing it here
Yeah.
too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That concerns me. I just had fiber optic installed and they buried it. And I'm concerned that they didn't do a good job burying the
No,
line.
now it's good. It
Now
was
you're
just like
good.
your voice was kind of like a little dish, but
Choppy?
yeah, now you're good.
It was like
Yeah,
they
so
were.
we
Okay.
didn't hear like how many hours to do
Yeah.
on the build and
Okay.
stuff. Yeah.
I was sounding so GIS like too. Well, yeah, shoot. Doggone it. So basically the plan your trip app, it needs to be rebuilt in a new system, and our GIS person estimates 30 to 40 hours just for that rebuild. The kind of twist that makes it not so great is the story maps that are used as part of the application would also need rebuilding. And Carol or Peter or Tim, or feel free to hop in if I'm not using the right terminology, but we had the student worker who did a wonderful job back in 2022 rebuilding
It's her connection.
estimating a full rebuild with those maps is like 60 to 70 hours.
Marnie, you're digital
Also,
again. We're only hearing
Did I
parts.
go again?
Yeah, Marty, you might want to try sometimes with a better connection. You can drop your video and just go.
Oh yeah,
audio
turn your
only.
video off. Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize for that.
No worries.
That is concerning with my new high-tech fiber network here. But great. Good stuff. But anyways, the moral of the story is we have this very nice application for planning your trip along the Great River Road, requiring a lot of hours. And even if our staff person had nothing else to do, it'd probably be too much for him to do by December of next year. Like he may be able to at least do the rebuild so it's accessible. But the data that's in there needs to be updated. And the story maps would need to be rebuilt. And there's a lot to it. And it also kind of raises the question of should MnDOT continue to be the holder of this tool? And I'm not asking for an answer today. I'm fine with if you want to discuss it, but is that something that really MnDOT should be the owner of? And then also just, the priority of updating and really getting this thing current again, what the commission members think about that. So just bringing it, I wanted to get it on your radar. But we'll be able to do some minimal things with it, I think, but we probably won't be able to do the Cadillac rebuild of everything without some help, whether that's GIS, somebody providing some additional GIS help, or if we hired a contractor to do it or something, but wanted this group to know because it's such a great tool. And I had no idea about this, but we do have some time. It's a year out before it turns into a pumpkin. And so with that, I'm going to stop talking for a second, and hopefully you all could hear me now through that portion.
Much better.
Yeah,
Thanks,
we heard you
Marnie.
great. Chris.
This is Chris, and what I would say, along with what Marnie is describing, is that plan your trip and those digital travel guides right now provide, I would say, the majority of content on your Minnesota Great River Road website. So there are some other pieces there, but plan your trip and those digital travel guides really are the core information pieces on that website. So if they wouldn't exist anymore, and I don't think we're hearing that, but if those were not to exist, there would be restructuring of the website needed to account for that. I think there's also many ways to go forward on this. Marnie kind of alluded to that it's Cadillac, or I kind of called it gold standard, what you have there right now, but there are different ways you could go forward depending on what the commission does or doesn't decide, what MnDOT can and can't do. There are options. And I started looking at what the other 9 states do and have a listing of all their websites that link from the national MRPC, and they're all different in terms of what they have, what they provide. And so this is kind of what I mentioned before, where you're out of print maps right now, and you also have this need related to plan your trip. So a lot of the main pieces of your presence to the world are kind of needing some attention. So it's a matter of how you want to handle that going forward, and whether that would be an ad hoc group or 2 or an executive committee. So I just provide that extra context for you.
Thank you. Any other comments questions for Marnie?
This is John. Just is there a cost estimate, ballpark cost estimate?
I'm looking, and I don't, he gave me everything in hours, but I could, oh wait.
And Marty, I'm also thinking, I mean, if we did it outside versus inside, I mean, what does doing that kind of product cost? It's going to be more expensive than the maps. I'll tell you that much, I think.
Yes, I don't have a cost estimate, but we could work on trying to figure out what that would be, say if the, commission or whatever, a few of the organizations or whatever decided to look into contracting it out. We could get an estimate for that, and for the different pieces too.
That would be great, because then we could, if we had a choice, the cost was equal to the maps, then we could know what kind of choice we're making. But if one is just really, really high, then we have to figure out what that funding source would be for it.
Senator Housley?
Yeah.
This is Ann in St. Paul. When I look at both the maps and the web page, we have 2 parts to the same from a marketing standpoint and from an engagement with our travelers standpoint. We have 2 parts of the same puzzle, it seems to me, and they need to both augment each other and be coordinated. And I wonder if this isn't, as I think Chris was saying, an opportunity for an ad hoc committee. And I would look to our 2-3 tourism experts on our commission to advise us about the ways in which these things are done in their shops. And it should also, I think, to some degree, dovetail or at least be cognizant from a programming standpoint with the Office of Tourism for the state. So might that, I would propose at least the discussion of an ad hoc committee comprised of those individuals and maybe more, and maybe some of the people from MnDOT to try to noodle this in the context of these being really as somebody said, our faces to our travelers. are aids to our travelers.
Carol, you have something to say, and then we can comment on what Ann said.
Yeah, thank you, Senator. In the past, Kimley Horn and Associates actually, when we had our 2016 corridor management plan, provided us with the data sets and the basis of that mapping. Our unit had hired a series of 3 different masters and GIS students from the University of Minnesota that then further developed them each time. The print map is actually developed from the database that Plan Your Trip is developed upon as well. So I don't know, Marnie, if you and Tina discussed the opportunity to hire a seeds worker to help, again, bring these into the forefront to get it into ArcPro from ArcMap. And then the story maps, definitely, those were done with great assistance from our college students as well. So that would be another opportunity to continue these resources on the website and in the print map too. And one of the reasons we continue to do a print map is that it is actually a safety issue because over time, the signage does deteriorate along the route and people were getting lost. And then there are certain areas in Minnesota where you still can't get a clear signal reliably on your cell phone. And so they do help, the print map in particular, but even the app, if you have it on your phone, you can, in other places, it can help you find your blue dot. It doesn't give you directions like turn left, but you can keep following the route using it as well. So there are some safety considerations. And then it definitely does help us when we're doing analysis for projects. We look to be able to see where is the Great River Road in relationship to XYZ type of activities, both in transportation and when we're doing the transmission line assessments, et cetera. Those are the tools that we use that for. So they are more broad. So at any rate, that's just another option that I thought I'd bring up. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Any further discussion? Do you think, Anne, you want to do or you suggested doing a separate committee or focus group or something?
I would make a motion to that effect. And Carol's remarks really point out the importance of DOT also being included with that. But I just think I look at both of those pieces as being really integral to what we do and somewhat dependent on each other. So, and I hadn't known until Carol mentioned it, that they Plan Your Trip, the printed maps came off the Plan Your Trip and they feed on each other. They're somewhat symbiotic. So looking at both of those things together seems to me to be at least one important first step to what we actually do.
And if I can, I'm sorry, Senator, can I hop back in here too?
Yeah.
It's weird not being on camera. So, but you know, connected to this is our funding to participate in these activities. So I have a limited pot of money to do any of this work, and I'm just sharing. I'm just sharing. So we can participate. You know, if we move forward on some kind of subcommittee or something like that. But we do have a limited amount of funding to even do this work. So it's a little bit of a conundrum. Thank you.
So Anne, did you want to make that motion?
Yes, I would move that we form an ad hoc committee and we have representatives from tourism as well as transportation who could work together to take on the 3 aspects: the maps, the budget, and the travel Plan Your Trip component of and essentially our website.
Can I be on that? Do you have to add that to your motion? Can I be on that?
Oh, and agriculture wants to be on it too.
Is there a second?
I would move that. Is there a second? Yeah.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes and there'll be an ad hoc committee. That would be great. Get that done. Who should lead that up? Anne, your idea.
I'm just thinking the people that I know who do this very well in their own worlds are our tourism people. And then we don't really, am I right, that we don't have an IT person, Marnie, from DOT who's on the commission, really? But so you're starting to know the lingo, so maybe that would be, you would be the other person, but somebody from DOT who knows about how this plan your trip. Carol certainly knows how it works.
Right.
But somebody like that who has that, and I'd be happy to call the meeting, but that's the expertise I would hope would be in the room.
Well, I think if we could decide amongst the DOT 3, 4 that are here, who'd be the rep, and then we could ask for our GIS person to attend and speak the language and explain what needs to be done. Maybe we could do something like that. So Carol and Peter and I and Tim can talk and decide who that will be. I would say it would be me, but my schedule gets kind of ugly. So, but I wouldn't mind, but we'll talk about that and we'll let the group know who from MnDOT
Awesome.
can be part of that.
Senator
Yep.
Housley, this is Chris, and I'm certainly happy to convene, coordinate, whatever Anne would like to pull things together.
Awesome. Thank you.
You'll hear from me.
Great.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Carol and Itasca State Park.
Thank you, Senator. In your packet, you have to see what, there is a slide that shows interpretive panels that are in front of the Mary Gibbs Interpretive Center at Itasca State Park. In early October, I was contacted by Kathy Bulio, the Minnesota DNR interpretive naturalist in Region 1, who wanted to discuss those panels that you see there. They have conducted park-wide analysis of all of their interpretation to identify those messages and images that might not be conducive to Native American storytelling in a positive manner and or balanced, etc. And so they did include the Great River Road interpretive panels. There are, in that picture that you see, there's actually 6 panels for the Minnesota Great River Road and then a 10-state interpretive center panel. What they found is that, very similar to much of the other interpretation at the park, there were panels that they wanted to remove as part of a first phase of this assessment. Then they will, once they understand the scope and the storytelling that is affected, they'll enter into another phase to develop new interpretation to tell those stories in a more appropriate manner. And then they'll enter into a third phase once they understand, the content, because that does take a while, to do an investment in the infrastructure itself and then replace those panels. They did find that the 10-state treasure sign is okay to remain as is. The headwaters, metro, and bluff panels do not need to be redeveloped, but the Northwoods, crossings, and scenic panels do have phrasing that is no longer considered appropriate. And so what they are proposing at this time is to remove, to maintain the 10-state panel as it is, keep one of the panel frames where it is, and only keep the headwaters panel, which is the second closest in the picture, to tell the 10-state story, and then take down the remainder, put two of them, the Bluffs and the Metro, into storage, and then redevelop the Northwoods crossings and scenic panels as a part of their park-wide effort. So at this time, it's more information for the commission. And if there were comments or concerns, they would like to hear those as well. And then they are looking, at this time, they don't have a time frame for when the phase 3 will be complete. But when it is, then they would reinstall the remaining 5 regional panels for the Great River Road. But we just wanted to bring that to your attention. We did send this to Kelly and Grant and Chris as well right away, and then suggest that we have it as an information item on the agenda today. It does kind of, as we talk later about priorities and perhaps even talking about the sesquicentennial, that the storytelling, the story map, or the storytelling, it could potentially be a legacy type project. We have proposals from a couple years ago that looked at what it would take, what were the conditions actually when Tim was the Great River Road coordinator, Tim Wilcox. He and one of our student workers traveled the route and did an assessment. So we have a snapshot in time. Basically, what it entailed was that quite a few were older and needed to be replaced because of condition. I would suggest, though, that perhaps when and if that project is carried forward, that we do a similar assessment to make sure that, the Native American stories are told in an appropriate way. And perhaps, in accordance with our corridor management plan, we had strategies that suggested we actually tell more of those stories as well. And so if there's any questions or comments, that's about all we have right now.
Thanks, Carol. That was a great update. David.
Thanks, Chair Housley. Carol, if DNR or others want any assistance with doing a quick review, be happy to help take a quick look at stuff. And also, of course, each of the state agencies has a tribal liaison, and that's a good way to work through doing a review process as well. Thanks.
And Carol, this is Sally Finday. I'd like to be kept in on the loop. Miigwech.
Thanks, Sally. John?
Yeah, Senator Housley. So there's like the Bluffs panel and in other regional panels there. How many other places in the state do we have these panels repeated at other interpretive centers? And so if this language has been identified in these panels, I think it would apply to all the panels we have up everywhere in the state, wouldn't it? And Chris, I know we were looking at evaluating this at one point, trying to look at all our panels and see and update them to be appropriate. So this isn't just like a Tasca thing. It's much bigger.
Carol?
Yes, thank you. The Itasca State Park, the DNR is managing the Itasca State Park project, but Sally, I can forward that request to Kathy, who is leading the effort there, that you would like to have more information on an ongoing basis and follow that project. John, to your point, these 6 panels were actually developed specifically for Itasca State Park. They had told a lot of the river stories, but they didn't tell the Great River Road story. So we developed these 6 specific to this location. And they talk about the 6 destination areas along the Great River Road. Yeah. But to your point of we need, that was my final point, is that when we do go look to redevelop or the existing panels that have bad condition issues, or if we are to build out the full roadside storybook in each of the counties, we would definitely want to be more sophisticated and forthright in our approach to it and follow the lead of the Itasca State Park.
Thanks.
I don't know if anybody can see.
Anne, I can hear you. Yeah.
as I'm recalling those panels in Itasca State Park, they really are about the Great River Road and about the sections of the Great River Road. And that brings me to the question of who really owns that? Are they DNR property? Would they leave sections of the road out? I mean, I really recognize there's a temporary stopgap measure here. And then, but would we be allowed to have 6 whole panels still, one about the whole road, and then the different segments that's not off the table, is it? I mean, I'd like to see us have a place where the whole road is publicized, and I can't think of any place more appropriate than right there in that location.
Yeah, I don't, what Kathy described is that they would be redeveloped, but in in a more appropriate manner.
But artistically, in terms of a lot of the things that are on there, we own trademarks and logos and those kinds of things. I want to be sure we preserve the look of the Great River Road and not have it begin to, no offense to DNR, but not have this begin to look like one of their things. I'd like to ensure in some way that we keep those elements, those graphic elements that are part of our who we are, our identity as a road.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Anne, and I didn't hear any indication that that kind of thing would not be possible. You know, that's kind of like a style guide type of aspect to the project. And for those 6 panels, 3 of which they would redevelop, I believe that they would want to have them look consistent as well. And that is actually part of the roadside storybook whole aesthetic, is that from a distance you can see, oh, that looks similar. That's Great River Road information. I will note that throughout the state, most of them have like an aqua metal frame around them. Whereas when we did set it in Itasca, we had discussions. They asked if they could recolor it to match the window mullions. And so it does match the aesthetic. So it doesn't stand out as much.
Yeah.
We did the same thing, MnDOT, at the 361, 371.
370.
The rest area there too, that when they developed that, they wanted those panels frames to also match the architecture as well. But in general, I think that there will not be an issue with continuing with the look of it. It's the messaging that needs to be updated.
Well, I assume we'll play a role in some way.
I'm quite certain. I
in
mean,
the
they
final-
reached out to us to
Yeah.
let us know.
Good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Carol. Any more questions or comments for Carol? All right. Thank you. Now we're going to go on to Chris, page 7 of your packet, Drive the Great River Road Month. Go ahead. Chris.
Absolutely. Thank
Excuse
you,
me,
Senator
Senator.
Housley.
Could I just get, I have
Yep.
to leave. This is Sally Finey. Thanks. I'll see you all next time.
Thanks, Sally.
Sally.
Bye.
Go ahead, Chris.
Back at it. Okay, page 7 is a report on the Drive the Great River Road promotion, the campaign that took place in 2024, sponsored by the DNR. Go with the flow on the Great River Road. Go meaning get outdoors. So that's on pages 7 and 8. And thank you again to everyone that was involved with that. The DNR also developed itineraries that were designed to go along with this promotion. Those live on and are available for download on the order maps page at mnmississippiriver.com. So those are available for use by any of you, or feel free to share those, but they did a lovely job with those, and they don't say September, so to speak, anywhere on them. So they are there to live on as tools that you have available. So we thank them for that. Thank you to all of you once again that were out at the state fair, that got the word out, that did so many things. And it'll be time now to look forward to 2025 and what you might like your theme to be. So this does start early, trying to launch that, in August if possible. So we could start taking suggestions now, or that's something to think about. Looking at what agencies have sponsored lately, it might be a time not to throw them out there, but history is one that you might want to consider, or maybe that's a future thought, maybe it's something different. But if you have suggestions now, we could start to consider those, or you could email those to me later for consideration at the next meeting. But believe it or not, it's time again to start that process.
Thank you. David.
Thanks, Chair Housley. If you guys are interested in doing a history theme, we would be game to help coordinate that and use one of the 6 intrinsic qualities of historic and cultural and archaeological features. I'm volunteering. I'm raising my hand.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that sounds great. Okay. Volunteer away, David.
If you guys have some specific ideas of different aspects, of course, there are a lot of not only Minnesota Historical Society historic sites along the Great River Road, but there are also each county has a county historical society along the Great River Road. So we are happy to work with local partners to pull them into the conversation a little bit as well. And I can work with our communications team and see if we can come up with something as clever as go get outdoors.
Sounds great. Awesome. Kristen, do you want to add anything to that, or you're good?
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome, David. Thank you. I did kind of put you out there, didn't I? But thank you very much. Just looking at what we've done and not done in the past, that would be awesome. And if others are interested in serving on that team, let me know. And then I'm happy to work with David on kind of getting that rolling, and you'll hear more. But just drop me a note if you'd like to be a part of that. Thank you.
That's how we get volunteers here, is Chris calls them ahead of time and says, oh, by the way. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I think this is a really good idea for you to volunteer. That's
Guilty, maybe.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so on to the transportation alternative.
Can I
Yep, go
throw
ahead.
out something? Sorry,
Yep.
Senator. I was just wondering, so early in the meeting, there was a lot of conversation about America 250. And I'm just wondering if the theme is kind of history related, does that lead into that? Are there ways to kind of connect those two? And this being September 25, it kind of leads right into that, I would imagine.
That's
David?
That's a great tie-in. And I mentioned AASLH, our national organizations for state and local history, and they've come up with some themes that, it's not required, it's just some things to think about. And one of the themes that really resonated with us is the power of place. And you think about the 13 colonies, if you ever been to Philadelphia or Lexington and Concord, those are places that resonate. And we have places that really resonate about history, whether it's the Kelly Farm or Forest History Center along the Mississippi. So using that sense of place is a really powerful theme. That's more generic, but Paul, that's a great idea as a launching point to tie in as a kickoff. And we're all getting excited already about the state fair. So that's a good tie-in too, to have the Great Minnesota Get Together be a bit of a kickoff for 250 as well.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, David. That's great. All right. We will then move on to the transportation alternatives funding applications. I think that is you, Peter.
Oh, I think Carol, Senator, that's
Oh, it's Carol? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Senator. And in your packet, there's a summary page of the program. And then also a second page that describes 2 projects that you will be considering letters of support for. So the Transportation Alternative Program scenic byways are eligible for that. They do roadside improvements, road improvements, trail improvements, some historic site improvements. So there's a list of eligible activities, and what this past year we received over, 45 letters of interest, which is a first step when you're applying for this funding. And of that, there were 6 projects that were in Great River Road communities or counties. And then I assess those to see if they do benefit the byway itself, the byway travel experience, or the byway intrinsic qualities and resources in that area. And of that, we found that there were 2 that did definitely provide benefit. One is in Brainerd, and I don't know if Carl is on. I don't see him, but it's on a project on the Great River Road that would add a pedestrian bridge over the trunk highway to Lum Park. And Lum Park is in the city of Brainerd, and it has a campground. It has picnic grounds. A lot of city festivals happen there as well, and it is right on they have a dam, so it's like the impoundment kind of a lake, but it really is the Mississippi River as well. And this will then help to separate out pedestrians trying to get to the park and give them a safer opportunity. And then it will enhance bicycle traffic safety as well. The other project is also benefiting the Great River Road. I don't have my notes in front of me. Let me see, sorry.
Hey, Carol, this is Chris. Could I speak about that second one? I'd be happy to speak about that one.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Because actually, this is right. I can almost see it from where
Oh,
I'm
that's right,
sitting.
Beaver Island Trail.
Yeah, this would be the city of St. Cloud connecting up trails that would go all the way from St. Cloud State University to the city of Clearwater. There's currently a gap going kind of through the St. Cloud Industrial Park where you can't go all the way through. There have been other projects recently that paved other areas of the trail from the city of Clearwater almost all the way up to that industrial park. And this runs all along County Road 75, which is the Great River Road. And so it's directly along the Great River Road. And my humble opinion would be, this might already be under consideration, but it would be a great place to move the MRT. If this is all connected, it's already on Beaver Islands Trail at a portion, but then it comes out in a very busy intersection area of County Road 75 right by the I-94 overpass. You're biking under the 94 overpass and into St. Augusta, and then over Opportunity Drive over 94 again, and along that County Road 75, which doesn't have a whole lot of shoulder and is super busy as kind of an alternate route to 94 between St. Cloud and Clearwater. And I tend to be in those areas quite a bit with husband and dog in tow on those trails. And so I do know the area and appreciate the chance to give that context. And I think it would be a great connection to take place on those trails. I will also say, and follow up to Carol before I turn it back, the Trunk Highway 210 Lum Park pedestrian bridge project has been supported by you before. They have sought this funding before, and this time around, they are also seeking National Scenic Byways funding for part of the same project. So you're going to see another letter request that all ties together for them. Thanks, Carol, for letting me jump in.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I know that you walk your dog along Beaver Island Trail, and it is a beautiful, it's a great experience. You just are right on the river, and it is, but yet you're in this metropolitan area. So, are there any questions?
Oh, no, everybody's good. Looks like everybody's good on it. Thank you so much, Carol. and Chris for all of that info. It is good. Okay, I have to leave now. So I'm sorry, I have to toss it to you, Chris, if that's okay.
Certainly. And I'll toss it over to John probably to call for the motion, Senator. So thank you. We'll be good.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Senator.
Thank you.
Sure. So Chris, do we take one question at a time?
You can take them all together if you wish. In past
different
years,
type
the commission
projects.
has done that. So,
yeah, let's just get the briefed on the others and we'll vote on them all at once.
oh, on them all at once, the scenic byways and the all letters. Okay.
Yeah. Can we do that?
That is up to you, Mr. Vice Chair. That is fine. And moving on then to the National Scenic Byway Grant applications, Tim Wilcox is with us today. He is now our Minnesota Scenic Byways Coordinator, so we're happy to have him back in that role. He has some information to share, and then I can tell you a little bit more about the projects that you have before you. So welcome, Tim. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everybody. Name's Tim Wilcox. If you probably have seen me before, it's been a couple years, but I am back with MnDOT, and I've taken over Holly Segel's position as the state's scenic byway coordinator. Just kind of talk about, we have a National Scenic Byway grant that's open for application right now. That opened up in mid-September and ends here, has to be uploaded to FHWA by December 16th at 11:59 p.m. So I've sent out emails to people and just kind of informing them of the application and the process. So we have a deadline to me at MnDOT for on Monday, December 2nd. So here in about 2 weeks. Currently have about 8 interested parties that are looking at projects, a couple of them along the same byway. And as Carol touched about, actually the Lum Park one is one of the projects that are interested. What else? So yeah, we got the deadline. There's funding up to 26.95 million on it, 80% total project funding with a 20% local match. The grant project types are, corridor management plans, safety improvements to the highway, any construction of byway facilities, especially if it promotes access to like the river or any other kind of water recreation, resource protection, and interpretive information as well as marketing programs, CMP updates, things like that. There is a bunch of merit criteria that FHWA has. There's there's 4 NSP goals: safety, climate and sustainability, equity and workforce development. So job quality and wealth creation. So been working with multiple byways on how to best approach their application. So it's been trying to have them be able to touch on more than one of those aspects, and especially the 4 goals and how their project relates to that and how it relates to their CMP. So yeah, Carol and I will be reviewing, and hopefully Peter here on December 4th, and we'll be ranking all the projects that we get in. So currently about 8, but I'm guessing there might be a few more that pop in that, last week I had a couple more that popped up. So we'll be reviewing those, and then we'll be forwarding those on to the Scenic Byway Commission. So Marnie and David will be part of that. And we'll get a sign off on which project, on the projects, have them all ranked, and then I'll begin the process of uploading those things. So yeah, so I am learning a new position that Holly did full time and for many years, and I've been doing this for a month and a half. So I've been absorbing a lot of information. So
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. And you'll find some of the information Tim was mentioning on page 11 of your packet.
Oh, yep.
It gives background on this funding source with some of the highlights, because it is a lot. And we very much appreciate MnDOT and Tim and Carol taking in all this information and submitting it all, because you can only access this funding or these applications in partnership with the State Department of Transportation or a tribal
Yep.
government. So without
Correct.
these great partners doing all this, none of this happens. So we are very grateful for that.
Yeah, so I mean, just real quick, I mean, we did, so this doesn't open every year. It's, last time it was open was 2022. Minnesota was one of 2 states that was awarded 2 grants. The Skyline Parkway Scenic Byway got $1.5 million for preservation of a historic stone wall, some stormwater improvements, and a new interpretive marker at a park there on the byway. And then actually the Great River Road got 700 grand for new trailhead construction and access improvement to Spring Lake Park Preserve. So, so we'll see how that affects if we get awarded anything again this year. So hopefully our success in the past will help this time.
Thank you, Tim. And I'll call your attention on the bottom of page 11. Requests before you for 4 letters of support. We have information for you on 3 of those in the packet. The first one is the National Mississippi River Parkway Commission, and Kate talked more about that one. So we don't have print material to share with you right now. There will be potentially more information coming, so watch for that. They are requesting, I believe, a letter of support from this commission, the state commission. They might also be coming to you with requests to go to others for letters, potentially members of Congress, things like that. So as we get the detail and the requests, we would forward those out to you. But my understanding is that that project would be for website and app development that would benefit all 10 Mississippi River states. And so we'd be looking for your approval of a letter for that project. Since we don't have quite the full details on that yet, if you would choose to approve based on those descriptions, the chair could do a final review when the information is available. So that's one request. We also have Washington County with the Point Douglas Park Trailhead Project. They applied for this same project in the last round of Scenic Byway grants in 2022. They were not funded and are choosing to go forward again. They have been in touch with the commission, reached out right away when they saw the notice of funding opportunity, and have been back and forth with us. That during that first application, representatives from the county met with both John and I and have stayed in touch. So that's Washington County. There's more detail here for you to review. City of Brainerd, you've already heard about the Lum Park Trailway Access Project. They are also seeking National Scenic Byway funds, and you do have some mapping and description here in your packet about what they're requesting. I do not have amounts that the National MRPC will be asking for. That is to be determined. Washington County is requesting $1.2 million from the National Scenic Byways Program, and the county would provide the $600,000 of required matching funds. In Brainerd, the Lum Park Trailway Access Project has an estimated total cost of $6 million. They would be going for $1 million in National Scenic Byways funding, and you can see description of the other things that they would be contributing on page 14. They've got a whole series of maps here for you as well. And then there is also the St. Paul River Walk, the St. Paul Downtown River Walk. And also we've talked with the Great River Passage Conservancy about that project and developing that for downtown St. Paul. They are still arriving at their final numbers on that one. Probably in the $700,000 to $800,000 range, of around $1 million total project. I hope I'm getting that right, Katie, if you're watching. And then they have philanthropic funds that have been raised to match that and are still in that process. So that's what we have. And John, you might know more about that project as well. But City of St. Paul also met, I know, with Carol and Tim and others at MnDOT, probably these other project contacts as well. So everyone's been doing a great job of outreach and connecting and requesting support and providing background and all that good stuff. So this is what we have for your consideration today. Anyone else that would like to speak about these? Carol, Tim, Peter, John, jump in.
Well, I'll just say, I mean, 2 of those are in my reach of the river. The Point Douglas one is, I mean, it connects the St. Croix National Scenic Riverway to MNRA, is kind of right at the junction of the two rivers. It's a great park, and they really need this facility that they're asking for. That's a simple, discrete one. It's not going to take as much money as some of the others. The St. Paul Riverfront one, I mean, they desperately need to connect the city above the bluff to the city below it, or to the river below it. And this is a project that would do that. I imagine there's a huge influence from Viking cruises because they dock right below the bluff. And if people could get off the boats there and then go right up into town, walk up into town, it'd be a great economic boost as well. That looks like a major project. It would connect to the balcony project that they hope to build, where they would have this river balcony across the whole front face of downtown.
Anyone else? And yeah, all of these will go into MnDOT for submission. MnDOT and the Minnesota Scenic Byways Commission will be ranking the projects, and the Federal Highway Administration National Scenic Byways Program may or may not use that ranking in final decisions, but they did request it. So that's what we know for you, I think, today, and would be then looking for your choice on any or all of letters of support for transportation alternatives and the National Scenic Byways Grant. Those National Scenic Byway Grant letters would need to go ASAP. We'd need to have those over to partners next week, because that all needs to be over to MnDOT December 2nd. We have a little more time on the transportation alternatives, but I would reach out to those applicants right away as well. And those you consider every year, and we appreciate your consideration of those for transportation alternatives. John?
Point of clarification, please, on the National Mississippi River Parkway Commission request. That is not going through Minnesota DOT. That is going through Tennessee's DOT. And what we are being asked for there, what Minnesota is being asked for there is not only a letter of support as a member state whose Great River Road is in the state of Minnesota and who would be affected by this grant because of it addressing a website and an app, but also the request is, because we are community-based, our members are community-based, is to go to your community leaders, whether they're congressmen, congressional staff people, mayors, county commissioners, people that you work with in your community who see a value to the Great River Road for their community. Those would be submitted as a part of the overall request from the 10-state organization that is going to go through the state of Mississippi's DOT, not Minnesota's DOT.
Thank you, Ann. Yeah, that's kind of a big one, isn't it? Thank you for catching that. This would be submitted through the Tennessee Department of Transportation. National Office is partnering with them. They would be the applicant. That would not be in Minnesota's ranking. That would go through Tennessee. But if awarded, would require participation from all 10 states, I'm sure, to populate everything up. So thanks, Ann. Yeah, I kind of missed a biggie there. Thank you.
I thought of Tim sitting there wondering, where is this going to come from?
Yeah.
I was forewarned about that one.
Michael, did you have something? I mean, Peter, do you have something to say?
Yep. And I'm Michael too.
Yeah, Peter.
I feel that the St. Paul, the riverfront one is incredibly important. David made a joke earlier about my have a difficulty getting around in Winona from the lower river up to the bluffs. And there's two Great River Road interpretive centers there. The Science Museum. This is I don't think it's just a nice to have. I think it's a critical to have type of connection that's badly needed in the capital city.
Yeah, and it connects to the head house and sack house down there, which is always difficult to get to. So yeah, it's good distinctions. I'm wondering, Chris, I think the transportation alternatives are clean. There's no caveats in those. I think we should just have a motion to approve those first.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Was that Ann on the motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Ann.
Second,
I'll second it.
Thanks,
Kelleher.
David.
any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Not hearing any, that one passes. Now I need some help on this, on these National Scenic Byway grants. We might want to take some separately. Like, I mean, the
National separately makes sense to me for sure.
yeah, and you want to make a motion for the national one? And that's just simply a letter of support for what the national office is doing. I mean, the national submission. It's not all the detail you brought in that they're gonna seek out.
Right,
Well,
I think the motion, oh, go ahead, Ann.
Well, the only thing I was going to say is that they would communicate to our members through us, through this
Yes.
commission. And that request would, so I don't know that we need a motion to support that. That's a step we would take as members of our committees and members of the 10 state and MRPC. That, I don't even know that we need a motion, but I'd be happy to move that we would be ready with a letter of support for the National Scenic Byway proposal as a state commission.
Yes.
And that I'd be happy to make, I would propose that we be ready with that letter of support. And if, yeah, that would be my proposal, my motion.
Do I have a second?
I can second. Hey,
Carol.
Thanks, Kate.
And this is another one that would be, it could be actually signed in the interim. It would be based on, the executive committee or the senator's approval, right?
It would go to the chair for final approval. You'd be
Chair
authorizing that letter of support for the National MRPC's National Scenic Byways application with
authorizing.
final approval from the chair.
Right. Okay, with that understanding, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, I heard let's see. Washington County one seems pretty straightforward, as does the Lum Park one and the Riverwalk. Are those all good? I wrote a caveat. That was about by the national one. So, can we take those other ones together?
You can do either way as the commission would like. Yep.
Yeah, let's take the Lum Park, the Riverwalk in the city, and the Washington County proposal together. Can I move that we do so? Second?
So noted.
Second.
Or do we need a, okay.
Yep.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yep. Well, thanks to the all the people who put all the time into winnowing through all the applications and getting us the ones that are needed. Tim, I heard you suggest that you might or that you might see more coming in before the deadline. Would they be coming to us before the deadline than for a letter of support someone? And that's the other thing I was thinking about this, the National Scenic Byway one, was if someone came in tomorrow and wanted a letter of support from us, could we refer that to the chair for review?
I would assume so, yeah.
I think then you could make that motion to do so it's on the record here that you're choosing to do that.
That was the piece. I was trying to figure out why I didn't want to take those scenic byways all at once, and that was one of the reasons. So it was the national one, and then it was that caveat as well. So I'd make a motion that, if Department of Transportation receives something that they think is of benefit to the Great River Road following this meeting, but before the deadline, that the chair can review that and approve it or not. So I would make that motion.
Okay with that. Second.
Okay.
Second from Ann.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody. Cool. We made it through. So, commission I think we're the commission member updates. Any updates from commissioners? And I have that, I mean, Chris, I have that one, but I think I should wait till, maybe you do Ann's, we're ahead of schedule by quite a bit, right? So, yeah. So, maybe I'll do my update first, and then we'll leave the Holly recognition to the last. So, thanks to Lisa, she's put me under the spot to connect with a guy who's, anybody ever watched Rick Steves Europe?
Yeah.
Well, this guy is like the Rick Steves of Germany. He has the longest running travel podcast in Germany. And Lisa and her boss have set it up that I will be do an interview with him about the Mississippi River in Minnesota. And so he asked me to look at, it's a Minnesota travel podcast. He wants to see life along the Mississippi. He says the questions will focus on life along the Mississippi and Minnesota, including descriptions of the landscape and activities you can do in all seasons, basically. So I don't know how long. I think maybe looking at some others he's done, it's under 40 minutes. So I will, the landscapes piece, we developed the landscapes for the All-American Road. So I'll talk about how much the Mississippi changes in Minnesota and the communities along the river and life along the Mississippi, not via Mark Twain, but just all the activities, and maybe bring in the interpretive centers along the Great River Road as I can.
Yeah.
John, you're going to be doing this in German, right?
I know Venica is how you say a little German. I nearly failed German in college, so not good.
John, is your audience, does he describe his audience as primarily German?
I looked up some of his podcasts and they were all in German. So I had to search for some in English, and he does do some in English. But they're all over Europe. I mean, they're all over the world. They're not just United States. So
it might be good to also do something of an inventory for them of the German I think of St. Cloud on the Mississippi River and their German heritage and a couple of others. And it might be good to incorporate that in some way to give that some highlighting when you're doing that podcast.
Yeah, I thought I'd bring out that, and David, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Germans were the largest immigrant group by far. People always think it is Norwegian and Swedish and Norwegian, but it's German's the biggest group.
German. Yeah, it's German. Yeah.
I'll bring that out, but I think he's going to want to see the multicultural aspect of it, European aspects of it. But if any of you have any suggestions of something, John, you have to talk about this, let me know. Yeah, Carol.
The Rathskeller in the Capitol that has the sayings in German.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rathskeller in the Capitol.
In the basement.
Cafeteria. It's open during session.
Yeah, yeah. And they took all the icky stuff off of it to expose the original stories, the original German drawings or whatever.
There are little proverbs that are pithy little quotes in German.
Yeah, in German.
About the virtue of beer. Make sure, John, to drive them to the website and plan your trip while we still have it.
Well, we still have it. I looked at a couple of his podcasts, and there was no visuals with them. They were just interviews, like a radio interview. So, but others where he's traveled around Europe, he's got video. So I'm gonna maybe get some clarification from him on this. So I just want to make you aware of that. Great promotion for the state in Germany. And I should say that on my last cruise, we had 171 people on the boat. It was packed. And I asked people how many knew where Mississippi River began. 2 people raised their hand. That's
terrible.
I know. And they were all Americans. There was nobody from any foreign countries. So we got.
So John, if you don't mind, I'm going to share this with Suzanne, who is writing the 10 state MRPC proposal, because one of the things that they ask is how relevant is what we are asking in terms of marketing to other countries and other international tourism. So I think of your experience, and I think of this podcast and these kinds of requests that we get as being sort of some anecdotes that we ought to incorporate if we can. I know there's a strict format, but we do get requests internationally a fair amount, and this is just one of them.
And I'll forward you the email I got from the guy in Germany.
Super, thank you.
Okay, Ann, I'll turn it over to you.
I don't know that I have anything anymore at this point. Oh, am I? Oh, I'm sorry. We have moved on. There aren't others?
Yep.
There isn't any
on.
other business? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I do see that Peter has his hand up.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Peter.
No problem. Thank you. It's a little known fact that there's almost as many river miles of the Mississippi and Minnesota as there is of the Rhine in Germany. So I think they think in those terms. And also Minnesota is about 2/3 the size of Germany in area. So they sometimes the scale, I know growing up there, the scale was not something I really appreciated for the United States versus European countries.
Oh, that's right. You grew up there. Do you speak German?
Bitte.
Maybe you should be doing this. The Rhine is, yeah, I plan to bring out that Minnesota has almost 1/3 of the river mileage of the entire river. So either within or along. So
Yeah.
Great. Okay, Ann,
Okay. I don't know how many, what I wanted to do was propose a motion commending Holly Schlegel for her service to byways all throughout Minnesota, but particularly to the Great River Road. I know that she has worked tirelessly. She's been really informative. She has been a resource for us. She's also been an advocate for us. She's been terribly helpful to specific parts of the Great River Road that wanted to make applications when the Scenic Byway program was open. She's done all of those kinds of things in a professional and to some extent personal way. And I wanted our body, the Minnesota MRPC, to commend Holly and thank her officially for the work that she has done on behalf of byways in the state of Minnesota.
May I add, Anne, thank you for that, Mr. Vice Chair. If there is time, I believe Carol has some comments and some summary information about Holly, and I have a slide I could share if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Well, now we'll see if I can share. Just give me a second here, folks. Ta-da, did that go? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and you said it so well, and thank you, John. So as a colleague and a friend, and these are prepared statements, sorry, but she's had a long career here, like Holly said, and she's done so much. But as a colleague and a friend, it's an honor to reflect on Holly's contributions to Minnesota Scenic Byway Program as the manager, and then also supporting it, not as the program manager, for about 10 years before that, upon her retirement. So Holly has retired from MnDOT. But when Holly began her work supporting scenic byways, Mark Anderson was the program manager, and the Federal Highway Administration was just beginning to promote scenic byway corridor management plans, site development, interpretation, marketing, wayfinding, partnering, and more, all the things that we work in every day, as a way to inform transportation investments and to better meet community needs and support the tourism industry, which people are traveling, so they need transportation. Holly valued the wide variety of Minnesota byways and their unique needs. She helped MnDOT and byways leverage FHWA's program, and she reinforced Minnesota's byway community in many ways, but particularly by hosting annual byway workshops and on Minnesota's scenic byway web pages. Now, between 1992 and 2012, Minnesota Scenic Byways holistically successfully completed 173 projects, receiving over $17 million in National Scenic Byway discretionary grants. And that was matched 4-to-1 with at least $4.3 million in local investments to benefit the byways. Holly supported our byways so that they successfully completed FHWA and MnDOT processes and paperwork, which is no small task for a grassroots organization. Beginning in 2013, Holly helped shape the transition from byways to transportation alternative program grants, which we also discussed at this meeting, resulting in over $6 million in TAP funds funding 15 byway projects, including $1.5 million for the Trunk Highway to Bena Trail project. And this work continues on today's agenda, as we mentioned, as the Parkway Commission considered TAP letters of support for 2 projects benefiting the Great River Road. In 2015, Holly helped deliver Minnesota Byway Corridor Management Plan updates statewide in partnership with regional development organizations who, when the Great River Road did our corridor management plan at the same time, we also started really involving the regional development organizations. And it's been a great success. In fact, Tim and I went up and spoke at their annual meeting yesterday in St. Cloud. And so Holly has continued to obtain funds for select plan updates each year since, and Tim will carry on in that tradition. In 2018 and 2020, Holly helped deliver 2 statewide multimodal scenic byway way showing sign construction, which included the Great River Road in 2018, and completely re-signed 6 byways in that effort, and then another 5 byways in the second. And as we noted in our corridor management plan when we did engagement, getting lost on the Great River Road is not the fun part of the trip. So these are really important projects that she helped to implement. It's true, Anne. It's not fun.
I know.
And so in 2022, when the Scenic Byway grant funding was restored after 10 years, Holly submitted 12 Minnesota applications, resulting in 2 grants, which Tim described earlier. One was on the Great River Road, and then one on the North Shore, or the, not the North Shore Scenic Drive, Skyline Drive.
Skyline Drive.
Yep. And so, you know, that was 1.5 million and 700,000. That's over the top of any of our targets that we get from FHWA. So from a state transportation standpoint, these grants are really important because they help us do kind of work that we wouldn't otherwise be able to program. So throughout the years, Holly's secret sauce, as Anne alluded to, was her relationships with Minnesota's 22 byways. MnDOT districts, state aid, finance, planning, and communications staff within our agency, and then also with the Scenic Byway Commission, which Marnie chairs. David is also on, and EMT, Explore Minnesota Tourism, and the DNR also serve on. And those relationships are really what keeps this program vibrant. The funding helps, but we had 10 years with no funding, and the program still thrived. In fact, Tim has been approached by 2 entities that would like to have new byways in Minnesota. So the program is still seen as very valuable by our local communities. So in conclusion, for this work and a lasting scenic byway legacy that she leaves us, we thank Holly and congratulate her on her retirement. Thank you for letting me share those thoughts.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was a fitting and very deserved tribute, Carol. So thank you. You can't let someone just ride off in a sunset without of that importance, without recognizing that. I wish she was here to hear what you had said. Do you know what
There's the
she's, what she's doing?
She is enjoying retirement. She is expecting her second grandchild. So yeah, she's enjoying retirement. She does miss her job though, I will tell you that.
Good, good. Well,
So
Chris,
I put that in the form of a motion. Do we need to have a second and vote on it?
yeah. Do you want to make the motion, Carol?
Oh, Anne made the motion. We just need a
I'm sorry.
second.
I was just wondering if we had to start over or not.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I won't even ask if anybody's opposed, so. Break with Robert Rules of Orders, I suppose.
And Mr. Vice Chair, if I may, there is an additional piece of information, possible recognition to consider. Kelly Bruns, who has been your technical advisor from the Department of Natural Resources, has moved on to another position. And so this was likely to be her last meeting with you, but she did have something come up and wasn't sure she could make it. But in the spirit of kind of what Carol did for Holly, this is shorter, but Kelly had been with you since about February of 2022, so coming up on a couple of years. She came to you as Parks and Trails Manager for the central region of the DNR and was an active and valued technical advisor with always rapid response and good humor and good information and just a good partner to work with, including doing things like, serving as the MC for your trivia challenge at last year's state fair for Drive the Great River Road Month. So she stepped up and jumped in and served as your moderator there, and I think was pleased to spend that time with you. So we express our thanks to Kelly as well, and there will be a new technical advisor designated. That has not happened yet, but I wanted you to know that you will likely not see Kelly coming back to this group again. So we send her our thanks as well.
Thanks, Chris. And what is she off to?
A different position within DNR. I'm not going to get the title of that exactly right, but we'll find that out and put it in your follow-up notes so that you know exactly where she has moved on to.
Yeah, Chris, and I wanted to add one note, maybe most of you are aware of it. Coming out of the meeting in Winona, there was some question of where the next meeting would be, and it was going to be preferential to Baton Rouge or Louisiana, since they had been in line for it, but they are unable to do it again. And Wisconsin has stood up. I don't have a final word from Wisconsin on it, and they wanted to do it in conjunction with the Mississippi River Cities and Towns Initiative. And so the September 16th to the 19th, I think, is the date that we agreed when that MRCTI meeting is. So I would just say tentatively hold that on your calendar. I know that Sherry Kwame was going to bring it to the state, and I haven't heard whether they said absolutely yes or not, but you should just take note of that.
Jen, did you mention where you said Wisconsin? I was writing at the same time. Did you give a city? Is it La Crosse?
La Crosse, it's going to be in La Crosse. So just a hop across the river from where we were. Easy on travel again for us. Although I want to get to Baton Rouge again. Actually, I was there 2 days ago, so that could be great. Anything else for the good of the order? Well, great meeting again. I didn't know Karen was jumping off early, but happy to jump in behind her. And I think we'll, those of you know the legislative process, we'll probably get some new people coming up early next year sometime, or I certainly hope Senator Housley and Senator Hoffman stay with us. That would be great to keep them. So, okay. I don't have a gavel, but I would say meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Good meeting, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, everybody.
Happy
Thanks,
Thanksgiving,
everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. Take care, all.
Take care. Safe travels.
I did not use this. Okay, good. Got it. Said.